Hi everyone, my name is Xaviera Davis and I am a nutritionist with the Nutrition Education, Training, and Technical Assistance Division at USDA's Food and Nutrition Service and Child Nutrition Programs. Thank you for joining us for the 7th webinar in our monthly CACFP Halftime 30 on Thursdays webinar series. These webinars are held on the third Thursday of every month in both English and in Spanish. The English webinar is held from 2 to 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time, and the Spanish webinar will be held after the English webinars from 3 to 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time. These webinars will be recorded and made available at a later date on the Team Nutrition website. Again, we will have time at the end of this webinar to take questions. You can use the chat box at any time during the webinar to enter your questions, and we will try to answer as many as we can at the end. Once again, thank you for joining us for today's webinar on methods for healthy cooking. The next webinar will be held on June 21st, where we will discuss adding whole grains to your menu. Then, on July 19th, we will discuss feeding infants 0 through 5 months. We realize the titles of these webinars and materials may mention CACFP by name, but these meal pattern trainings and materials can also be helpful for those working with the preschool or pre-K meal patterns in the National School Breakfast, School Lunch, or After-School Snacks program. Everyone is welcome to attend and download our resources. As you know, those of you attending the webinar for the entire 30 minutes today will receive a certificate of participation. It takes us a little bit of time to process the certificates, so you should be receiving them on Tuesday, May 22nd, likely towards the end of the day. Please wait until after May 22nd before inquiring about your certificates. Also be sure to check your spam and junk mailboxes before inquiring. If you are attending the webinars with others, please print a certificate for everyone watching with you. These webinars are recorded each month and posted to our Team Nutrition website. The direct link to the webinar page on the Team Nutrition website is listed at the bottom of your slide. Before we get started, we want to know who you are. Please go ahead and select one of the following listed on the slide. Let us know if you are a child care center, daycare home, at-risk after-school care site, adult daycare center, sponsoring organization, emergency shelter, school food authority, state agency, USDA regional office, or other. Great. We have a lot of people here with us from different places. Thank you all for joining us today. So let's get started. The worksheet we're talking about today is Methods for Healthy Cooking. It is important to remember that how a food is cooked can affect how healthy it is. To help reinforce this information, we will explore a variety of cooking methods and recipes that can be used to create nutritious meals and snacks that reflect regional food preferences and flavors. Please have the worksheet in front of you so you can follow along with us. We will broadcast the link one more time. If you click on the URL in your chat bubble, it should take you directly to the worksheet. This worksheet has 2 pages. The top of the first page provides information on methods for healthy cooking that can be used to prepare meals in the CACFP, such as roasting, sautéing, and grilling. We will go into these methods in more detail, including reviewing some recipes that use these cooking methods later in the webinar. The bottom of the first page emphasizes the current rule, which states that deep fat frying foods on site is no longer allowed in the CACFP. It also provides a definition for the terms deep fat frying and on site. In the CACFP, deep fat frying is defined as cooking by fully covering or submerging food in hot oil or other fat. And when we say on site, we are referring to your child care center, family child care home, or your child care center's central or satellite kitchens. Now let's do a quick knowledge check. Foods that are deep fat fried on site cannot count toward a reimbursable meal in the CACFP. Which settings are defined as on site? Great, most of you are correct. The correct answer is D, all of the above. Child and adult care centers, family child care homes, and any central or satellite kitchens affiliated with the center all meet the definition of on-site. The rule also applies to any food served at an emergency shelter or at-risk after-school program. Okay, now let's turn to the second page of the worksheet. At the top of the page, you will see a simple chart that you can use to help determine if the item you want to serve in your center or home is reimbursable based on how it is prepared. The first row of the chart mentions serving par-fried or flash-fried food items. It is important to know that packaged foods that have been par-fried or flash-fried, such as French fries or chicken nuggets, can be served as part of a reimbursable meal as long as they are heated on-site by a method other than deep fat frying, such as baking or microwaving. The updated CACFP meal pattern does not place a limit on the amount of pre-fried foods a center or home can serve each week. However, as an optional best practice in the CACFP, aim to serve purchased pre-fried foods once a week or less. On the second row of the chart, you will see that deep fat fried foods from a restaurant or vendor are reimbursable in the CACFP. However, if you need to reheat the items on site, you must use a method other than deep fat frying. While the fried foods from a restaurant or vendor can be served, we encourage you to discuss with your vendor about healthier cooking options for foods such as baking, grilling, or roasting. Now let's do another quick knowledge check. Deep fat fried foods from a vendor or restaurant are reimbursable in the CACFP. How can they be reheated on site? Is the answer A, baking, B, microwaving, C, deep fat frying, or D, A and B? Great, you guys are on a roll. The correct answer is D. Deep fat fried foods from a vendor or restaurant are reimbursable in the CACFP. However, you need to reheat the food items. If you need to reheat the food items on site, you have to use a method other than deep fat frying, such as baking, microwaving, roasting, or pan frying. Now let's take a look at rows 3 and 5 on the chart. Pan-fried, stir-fried, or sauté foods prepared in the child care center, family child care home, and satellite and central kitchens are reimbursable in the CACFP as long as the food is not fully covered or submerged in hot oil or fat during the cooking or reheating process. Now let's do another knowledge check. Pan-fried, sautéed, and stir-fried food items are reimbursable in the CACFP. True or false? Great. The correct answer is true. Pan-fried, sautéed, and stir-fried foods are reimbursable in the CACFP because the food is not fully covered or submerged in hot oil or fat during the cooking process. Lastly, we know the meal pattern states that deep fat frying on site is not allowable in the CACFP. As mentioned earlier, the definition of on site also includes a child care center, central, or satellite kitchen. Therefore, foods that have been deep fat fried in your central, or satellite kitchen are not reimbursable in the CACFP. And we have another knowledge check for you guys. A center satellite kitchen provides French fries that are deep fat fried. Is the meal reimbursable, yes or no? Excellent job. The answer is no. The meal is not reimbursable because the satellite kitchen is considered on-site. Therefore, the French fries should have been reheated or cooked using a method other than deep fat frying. Now let's focus on the bottom half of the second page of the worksheet. Here you will find a list of yummy recipes that can be used at your site. These recipes use healthy cooking methods such as baking, sautéing, and frying. When viewing this worksheet on your computer, you can click on the recipe title on the worksheet to view the full recipe. Once you click on the recipe title on the worksheet, it will automatically take you to the recipe on the What's Cooking USDA Mixing Bowl website to view the full recipe. When you view the full recipe, you will see the full list of ingredients, cooking instructions, and nutrient information. You will also see the number of servings each recipe will yield, as well as the recommended serving size. Now let's take a closer look at some healthy cooking methods such as roasting, baking, and broiling. These cooking techniques involve cooking foods at high heat in the oven and can be used to cook food items which are traditionally deep fat fried. For an example of baking, see the oven fried chicken recipe. The oven fried chicken is seasoned with spices, coated in crushed corn flakes, and then baked in the oven to provide all of the crunch and flavor you need. The delicious fish recipe highlighted on the worksheet is prepared by roasting. It uses a combination of fresh vegetables that overflow with color and texture, spicy fish, and a burst of citrus, all served neatly wrapped in a whole wheat tortilla. Another great recipe item that can be used as part of a lunch or supper meal or served as a snack are our baked egg rolls. The baked egg rolls are a kid-friendly snack that are fun to make and eat. Dough is wrapped around a mixture of lightly seasoned ground beef, green cabbage, and carrots, and then baked. And if you're looking for a new side dish at meals, try our baked potatoes and apples. This combination of apples and sweet potatoes create a sweet, savory dish that both kids and adults can enjoy. Other healthy cooking methods include sautéing, pan frying, and stir frying. Each of these cooking techniques involve cooking foods in a small amount of hot oil over medium or high heat. For great tasting recipes that reflect regional and cultural food preferences, try our sautéed tofu and broccoli or collard greens recipes. In the sautéed tofu and broccoli recipe, the tofu takes on a savory and sweet blend of flavors that kids will enjoy. In our easy-to-prepare vegetable recipe, collard greens, which are a popular item in Southern cuisine, but can also be found at meals around the world, including Tanzania, Kenya, and Brazil, are sautéed in a small amount of oil. The last 4 recipes on your screen were part of our multicultural recipe collection. There are 40 recipes in this collection, and they were prepared using many of the healthy cooking methods we have discussed so far today. The recipes in this project were designed to meet program operators' requests for new CACFP recipes that reflect a variety of cultures. All of the recipes in this collection are standardized and available in servings of 6, 25, and 50. They also include a crediting statement for the 3 to 5-year-old meal pattern. The entire multicultural recipe collection can be found at www.fns.usda.gov/CACFP-recipes. The final healthy cooking method listed on the front of the worksheet is grilling. Grilling involves cooking foods by placing them on a preheated metal grill or grill pan with heat coming from below the food. This cooking method is best used for meats and vegetables. So today we provided a lot of great information about healthy cooking methods. We hope you will put your cooking skills to the test and try some of the tasty recipes we shared with you today. Also, we encourage you to access the What's Cooking USA Mixing Bowl website to search for other great recipes. You can access the website at the URL displayed on the bottom of your screen, whatscooking.sns.usda.gov. Now let's take one final knowledge check. All of the following are acceptable ways to prepare foods on site except. Is it A, grilling, B, pan frying, C, deep fat frying, or D, baking? Great. You guys are doing a great job. The correct answer is C, deep fat frying. As we have discussed, deep fat frying on site is not allowed in the CACFP. However, grilling, pan frying, and baking are all acceptable ways to prepare foods on site. That concludes the information portion of our webinar today. We will take questions in a few minutes, so please go ahead and start typing them now into the chat box on your screen. While you guys are getting your questions entered, I will go over some post-webinar housekeeping information. As we mentioned in the beginning, those of you attending the webinar for the entire 30 minutes today will receive a certificate via email. It takes us a little bit of time to process the certificates, so you should be receiving them on Tuesday, May 22nd, likely towards the end of the day. Please wait until after May 22nd before inquiring about your certificate. Also be sure to check your spam and junk mail boxes before inquiring. If you are viewing the webinar with multiple people, you can print out a certificate for each person. More practice questions are available at the National CACFP Sponsors Association website at www.cacfp.org/30on-Thursdays. For those of you who wish to practice with more questions or submit or track continuing education credits with NCA, you can do that at the link as well. Again, the link is www.cacfp.org/30on-Thursdays. This webinar is being recorded and will be made available on the Team Nutrition website. If you are watching this as a recorded webinar and want to receive a certificate, you can go to the National CACFP Sponsors Association website at www.cacfp.org/30on-Thursdays to complete the post-webinar practice questions and then receive a certificate. The certificates may be sent a few days after completing the questions. To explore more of Team Nutrition's materials, visit the Team Nutrition website at teamnutrition.usda.gov and click on the resource library on the left toolbar to see all of our resources that are available online. All of our Team Nutrition materials are available in a PDF format on our website and are available for free download to anyone who is interested. For all participating in a child nutrition program such as the CACFP, our print materials are free to order. Again, we hope to see you next month on June 21st when we will discuss how to add whole grains to your menu, and again on July 19th when we discuss feeding infants 0 to 5 months. Thank you for your time and attention today. Now we will take some questions.
All right, great job, Xavier. Thank you so much for that great information. Let's see what we have in the chat box here as people are continuing to enter their questions in. So our first question here is, what about air fryers? Can foods that have been prepared using an air fryer be served as part of a reimbursable meal in the CACFP?
Well, thank you for that question. Yes, foods prepared with an air fryer can be part of a reimbursable meal in the CACFP. An air fryer is a special machine that cooks the food with hot air using little to no oil.
All right, thank you. Next question. Let's see. Is it still considered deep fat frying if the food item I am preparing it submerged in oil in a skillet or a stock pot.
Thank you for that question as well. Yes, the definition of deep fat frying is cooking by fully submerging or covering food in hot oil or other fat. The definition remains the same whether the food is cooked in a deep fryer, such as the one pictured on the worksheet, a skillet, electric frying pan, stock pot, or any other type of pot or pan.
Okay, thank you. Next question. What about our infants? Can reimbursable infant meals and snacks contain foods that are deep fat fried on site?
Thank you for that question as well. No. The answer to that question is no. Under the updated CACFP meal patterns for all age groups, including infants, foods that are deep fat fried on site cannot contribute towards a reimbursable meal. Centers and daycare homes may still purchase foods that are pre-fried, flash fried, or par fried by the manufacturer, such as French fries and French toast sticks. However, those foods must be reheated using a method other than deep fat frying.
Okay, so no deep fat frying there for infants either. So next question here. So this participant likes to roast vegetables, and usually in the recipe, it requires you to lightly coat the vegetables with oil. Is this acceptable in the CACFP?
Thank you for that question as well, and the answer to that question is yes. Roasted vegetables that are lightly coated with oil or fat and then baked in the oven can be part of a reimbursable meal in the CACFP. The cooking process does not require the food to be fully submerged in oil or fat.
Okay, thank you. So this next participant or attendee says, my center receives meals from a vendor. So every day the vendor provides a food item that is deep fat fried. She says, I know the meals are reimbursable, but I would like the vendor to provide fewer fried items.
Okay. So that is more of a statement in seeking advice. So let me just say that it's great that you're thinking of ways to make the meal served in your center healthier. You can use the optional best practice when discussing how to prepare foods with your vendor, and the optional best practice states or suggests that you limit pre-fried foods to once a week or less as a guide. We also encourage you to have discussions and continue to have discussions with your vendor about healthy cooking options, and also utilize your voice during the procurement process. During the procurement process, you are able to list additional requirements the vendor must follow if they are awarded the contract. In the contract, you can state that the vendor must provide deep fat foods once a week or less.
Okay, thank you, Xaviera. These next two questions, I'm actually going to kick it over to Kenya Pennington, who is with our policy team. She is also in the room with us. So Kenya, we have a question here. It says, why are deep fat fried foods allowed from restaurants?
Deep fat fried foods are allowed from restaurants because they are not being fried on site. And so the rule is that you should not deep fat fry foods on site. However, we do encourage you to not serve deep fat fried foods from a vendor or from a restaurant that frequently during the week. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Kenya. I have one more question for you right now. It says, for the corn toasties, so that recipe that Xaviera mentioned earlier in the webinar, whole corn as the first ingredient counts as a whole grain product. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. And we just recently released some guidance on grain requirements in CACFP. It's CACFP 09-2018 grain requirements. And so we have a list of acceptable whole grains. It's not an exhaustive list, so I'm sure there are other whole grain items that are acceptable, but just not on this list. So I would definitely recommend checking out that memo.
Great. Thank you, Kenya. Xaviera, we have a few more questions for you since we have a few more minutes left. This question asks, what standardized recipes will qualify for reimbursement serving children ages 1 through 2 years of age? So all the recipes you mentioned on the webinar today, is that for that age group as well?
Yeah, all of the recipes, well, I shouldn't say all, the recipes that are part of the Multicultural Recipe Project are credited for the 3 to 5 year old meal pattern. However, I do believe if you take a look at the meal pattern, you will be able to adjust the recipe so that you can credit it and serve a creditable portion for a child that is 1 to 2 years of age.
Great, and just making sure that those foods are prepared in a way that help reduce the choking risk for that age group as well.
Exactly, and the recipes actually do contain chef tips and cooking notes to alert you to particular items in the recipe that would be of increased choking risk for the child. So when you're preparing that recipe, you can pay special attention to altering those particular ingredients.
Excellent, thank you. Next question here. So you had mentioned the patatas and apple recipe, which looks delicious. Are the patatas a different type of sweet potato? How do you usually fix those?
No, the patatas actually is the Spanish word for sweet potatoes. So that particular recipe is part of the recipes from our Southern American region of the United States, or of the world, I should say. So we were trying to be creative and keep some of the Spanish flair in the recipe. So the patata is actually just your regular sweet potato that is peeled and baked as you would any other sweet potato or white potato.
Great, thank you, Xaviera. Kenya, we have one more question for you that just came in, and it's similar to the one before, but I wanted to check with you on this. So restaurant foods, would those be creditable as well?
Depending on what the item is, yes. Was that the entirety of the question?
Yes.
Yeah, restaurant foods is similar to how foods are vended. So yeah, it just depends on what you're serving and making sure it meets meal pattern requirements.
All right, thank you, Kenya. Let's see, the next question here is, so are electric grills allowed?
Yes, the answer to that question would be yes. Electric grills are allowed because, once again, that cooking process does not require a food item to be fully submerged or covered in a fat or oil during the cooking process.
Thank you. And we have time for one more question. So this last question here, Xaviera, it says, if they purchase chicken nuggets or French fries from a vendor, and then they bake them in the oven, so they're not deep fat frying them on site, can they be served to toddlers and infants since they are allowed for preschool age and older?
Yes, the answer to that question would be yes. The food item is acceptable because the par fry or pre-fry item was reheated on site using a method other than deep fat frying. However, I would say when serving to younger children, just be mindful that the food item is in a bite-sized portion or amount that is going to reduce the child's risk for choking.
Thank you for that. And I would further define bite size as a half an inch or smaller for that age group to make sure that we are reducing the risk of choking, as Xaviera mentioned. So thank you all for attending today's webinar. That's all the questions that we can answer at this time, and we will catch you all on June 21st.